Hello, trainee, instructor, or PDI, whatever you are. Welcome. I am a grade A driving instructor. So I have been recently asked by a few people to make a video about risk part 3 and your risk. So here we are. I don't know how popular this is going to be, so if it's useful, please just tell me, and I will make potentially more videos if it's useful. Somebody has asked me directly to make a video about risk and your part 3, because of course if you score less than 7, it's an immediate fail, isn't it? So if there's anything dangerous that goes on in the car, or you score less than 7 on the risk management part of your part 3, then it's an immediate fail. So I want to tell you that I became a green license holder in 2004. I was in training before that, and I was on a pink license before that. I got my license in 2004. It's a long time ago. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my experience of it. I'm not an audit trained person. I'm a grade A driving instructor. So if I'm telling you information that's slightly outdated, I'm sorry, but this is my experience, and I hope it's helpful, and I'm only making this video to be helpful. So if there's any nuggets, any golden nuggets, or any information that's useful for you in here, please take it, and I warmly hope that it helps you. I understand that there's a 27% pass rate at the moment for driving instructors, so I hope the information that I have in my mind as a 43-year-old woman can help you, and we can make driving a safer place. So I've written some things down because I don't want to go off piste too much. This channel is for learner drivers mostly, but I'm making this video for people who are doing their part 3 exam mostly. Their part 3 exam, talking about the brand new student and the partly trained student who needs to be told about risk and the risk management. That's why I'm doing it. Okay, so like I say, my credentials, became a green license holder in 2004, and I was on pink before that, and in training before that. I learned in Bristol in a classroom with the Instructor College, a very long time ago. It doesn't even exist anymore. The Instructor College is now Red Driving School. It wasn't that at the time. In fact, I think they were doing a change. They were thinking about changing over at the time, but it hadn't happened yet. When I did part 1 and part 2, so I did my theory test part 1, and when I'd done that, I then did my part 2 in Bristol and got all that out the way. And then of course I was awarded my pink license, which I needed to do 20 hours of training for, I believe, before I could go and teach people on my pink license. So I worked with BSM because you have to work under the umbrella under the umbrella of a big company to be on a pink license. You're not allowed to be on a green license and have your own company and operate as a sole trader. You have to be under the umbrella of a big company, and I'm afraid this is why people have contacted me, because apparently their words, not mine, they've got them over a barrel. This is not my words. The franchise is high, but it's all part of the deal that you've got going on to be a driving instructor, however much money they've done. I worked with BSM, so I went there, and I only worked with BSM for about 8 months, I think. It wasn't very long. The reason why I left is because I got paid 50p one month, because their franchise was £320 a week, and I got paid 50p 1 week. Not very good for my personal needs. So clearly I left. I then went to another company which was a local company, and had a franchise of much less. Still gave me a car, but it was a franchise of half the amount, or certainly less than half, and I went with them. And then the nature of the business, right, is if you've got a good driving instructor, people don't stay at these companies. Not really. You know, I then went on to start a company with a friend, and we actually employed people. So we had people working for us. We had 2 instructors working for us. And then I met my then husband, and then I started working with him, and we also employed people to work for us. But the nature of the business is, you know, if you've got good instructors, they're not going to want to pay a franchise. This is beside the point, but good instructors are going to go off on their own and have their own private businesses in the end. So it's quite difficult to become a large company and a big franchise, because everybody doesn't want to pay, right? Anyway, so your situation is highly likely that you're going to be locked into a franchise with a company because they're selling it as something, and you're going to need to go and be locked in by them, which is the nature of the business, because they're trying to make money off you for a certain amount of time. Maybe you'll be locked in for maybe 6 months to a year. I don't know what your personal company is trying to do. But this is why people are contacting me, because they say, oh, perhaps if you teach me how to do it, then I don't have to be in a franchise and I can go out on my own straight away as a green license. Yes, that's true. But I am declining this situation because the pressure is too great for me. I'm not an audit trained person, and I know that you've only got 3 attempts before the whole thing. You have to wait 2 years. As far as I know, you have to wait 2 years and do the whole process again. And I don't feel that with the credentials of not being audit trained that I can take that on and help. I'm happy to give you information of what I know, but I don't feel like I can take you under my wing. In all honesty, it's too much responsibility when I'm not audit trained. So this information I give freely to you, and I'm even happy to see people if you're willing to travel to me, and I'm willing to have a look at your drive for part 2. If you know, I'll charge my normal rate for you, £45 an hour at the time of this video, but I'm not audit trained, you know, but I can tell you what my experience is. When you are a driving instructor and you've gone through all of this situation and you finally got there, congratulations, right? Being a driving instructor, you need to turn up to your students. You've got to be reliable, right? You know, being a driving instructor is you've got to be a reliable person. If this person needs a weekly lessons, you've got to go and turn up. You know, people lose a lot of students because they just don't turn up. Oh, I've got a flaky driving instructor. He just doesn't turn up. He cancels because his dog's sick. He cancels because his wig fell off. He mislaid his shoes. Like, you have to turn up, right? You really do. You need to be a consistent person who goes and turns up to people's driving lessons. You know, they want to learn to drive, and they want to get there, and they want to be an independent person and be free. You know, you've got to turn up. Otherwise you're going to lose people. And you need to be kind. You know, you need to be kind. I don't understand why driving instructors are shouting at their students. I just cannot understand how that's good for business. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. You need to be kind. People are going to make big mistakes, and they don't mean to. Nobody means to nearly crash your car. Nobody means to hit your wheel against the curb. Nobody means to do any of that, you know. So you need to be kind. I am a firm believer in teaching the way that we've been taught. So controls lesson, moving off and stopping, turning left, turning right, major to minor, turning out of a T-junction, emerging from a T-junction, left and right, crossroads, roundabouts, small, roundabouts large, crossroads large, bigger roundabouts, emergency stop, manoeuvres, all of the manoeuvres, test routes, mock tests. I always teach like that. I write it on my website. This is how I teach. If you want to know where you are, look it up. I teach it the way that I've been taught all those years ago. Practice what you preach. Pull, push, steering. Pull, push, steer. Everywhere you go. Check your mirrors. Everywhere you go. You are the elite. You are the elite driver. You are the gold standard driver. If you start not driving like that, and then you're trying to teach somebody else, you won't see the faults. If you don't do them yourself, you just won't see them. They'll just go straight over your head because you won't see them to be a problem. You need to be the elite. You need to drive gold standard all the time. All the time. This is my personal opinion, right? Okay. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Right, so I hear through the grapevine that there's a 27% pass rate. I am here today to talk about the risk element of your test. Now, as I said before, I'm a grade A driving instructor. These are all of the marks of my last check test, right? So on the risk section of the test, if you get less than 7, you are going to immediately fail. You need to score 7 in that area, otherwise you fail immediately. On this last check test that I got 13, right? So there was 2 missed marks. One for not giving directions and instructions in good time. I actually remember doing this because I was talking so much about an issue that we were doing. I remember getting very, very close to a T-junction before asking her to turn left at the T-junction. I remember I had to really quickly get that in. I lost a mark for that. I'm a little bit gutted, if I'm honest, a little bit gutted. That's so easy to have just got that mark there. And also there, I don't remember this, but there was one of the criteria here was any verbal or physical intervention by the trainer timely and appropriate. I lost a mark there as well. I cannot remember what that was. So maybe I needed to say something about her being too close to a car, or maybe I needed to take the wheel, or maybe I needed to brake or something like that. I have no recollection of that. It can't have been that bad because I as in like physical, I think it must have been verbal because I don't have any recollection of that. This is in 2019. When you've got a grade A, they leave you alone for quite a few years, so I can't remember. So I got 13 out of a possible 15 marks in the risk management area. So my feedback for this, a very good lesson where the trainer adapted lesson in part to deal with harsh braking. So I had it all in my mind that we were doing pedestrian crossings. I'd prepped my student, we're doing pedestrian crossings, all that. And then we got in the car and now the student can't brake anymore, right? So even though I told the examiner we're doing pedestrian crossings, immediately my student can brake, so I had to change the entire lesson plan on the spot to sort her braking out. I can't start pedestrian crossings now. She can't brake anymore. We had to sort that first. The examiner wants to see that stuff, right? Even if you go in there and you're like, right, okay, I'm doing roundabouts, or I'm doing crossroads, or I'm doing a maneuver, right? If they suddenly can't drive, you're not doing that anymore. You've got to change your lesson plan like on there, all right? And then sort that. And then if you can, go back to your lesson plan, which is clearly what I did afterwards. Some late directions due to talking about the other issues. Yeah, that's right. I love Q&A. So I must have been queuing and A-ing her too much. And that's the T-junction thing. Lovely relaxed atmosphere, very enthusiastic and good rapport with the pupil, which is cool. So I remember I got the Paul Hollywood handshake at the end of this test, which was cool because Bake Off was a massive thing. And I did actually get offered the Paul Hollywood handshake. She said it was the Paul Hollywood handshake. She gave me a handshake. So I scored 48 out of a possible 51. So 3 marks off distinction, a high overall standard of instruction demonstrated. So I am so proud. This video is about the risk part of this, risk management, because you can instantly fail if you get less than 7, which totally makes sense. This has to be a safe environment for you, the student, all other third parties on the road, pedestrians, parked cars, other cars, everyone. I don't need to go through it all. And the examiner in the back. So yeah, you are in trouble if you don't get 7 here. So, and also at any point of the lesson, did the trainer behave in a way that put you, the pupil, or any third party in immediate danger so that you had to stop the lesson? Wow. God, that's a bit uncomfortable, isn't it? If your examiner stops the lesson. Hopefully that does not happen to you. So there is, lesson planning is in there. Risk management, and then teaching and learning strategies, but this video is about risk management. I want to really zone in on risk management. Now, even though I got 13 out of a possible 15, I did score 4 marks in 3 of the boxes out of 5. So this is my experience and this is my share, and this is how I can help you, hopefully, to go forward and be a bit closer to passing this test and lift this 27% pass rate that we've got going on. Risk management has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Risk management, did the trainer, section 1, Did the trainer ensure that the pupil fully understood how the responsibility for risk would be shared? Okay, so in this section, I got 3, which is the top mark that you can get. Now, this is pretty easy for me because I've been a driving instructor for an extremely long time. So let's talk about the 2 variations that the examiner can pretend to be. The examiner is going to get in the car and he's going to pretend, guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, yeah? Because it's been a long time since I've done a part 3 exam. But when I went to test, the examiner got in, yeah, and half of the exam was him pretending to be a brand new student, never had done anything. And then the second half of the test was him coming in as a partly trained pupil, already done stuff, right? Got some knowledge already. So those are the 2 half an hours, yeah? As far as I'm aware, this is still happening. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a long time. Yeah, I had the grade 4 to 6, yeah? But it's changed to A to B, yeah? So this is relatively new to me, but I'm trying to help as much as I can. Did the trainer ensure that the pupil understood how the responsibility of risk would be shared? If the examiner gets in and we're dealing with a brand new student at this stage, now the brand new student doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything. You have to tell the student what it is. You've got to tell them, but they don't know. It's like anything. If you don't know something, you need to be told. And then later on down the line, then you can start like asking them questions in Q&A, whether they've retained it. Yeah. So it's easy for me if a brand new student gets in the car. That's really easy for me because I can just say, I've been a driving instructor for an extremely long time. I've got dual controls beneath my feet. I can use them at any time. I know how to drive this car from the left side of the car, and I can steer from where I am. So you're in really good hands. All right. So don't worry. Like, I've totally got you. So if you need any help at any time, I am totally here to help you. Okay. Do you understand that I can control the car from this side? Yeah, that makes me feel so much better. Thank you so much. No problem. Of course, I'm here for you. Right. I'm looking after my student, Now, as we go down through the talk through, the fully talk through, then the prompted, and then the independent, at first you're fully talking them through 100%. You're telling them absolutely everything because they don't know anything. They're a baby. They don't know anything. You have to tell them everything, absolutely everything, full talk through, right? So you're doing section 1, full talk through, section 2 prompted, section 3 independent. Independent being like very little help, but you're still there in the background. So I liken it to, I'm really holding you and making sure that you're okay and I've got you here. Then, so that's full talk through. And then you're going to holding their hand, metaphorically speaking, right? Prompted, holding your hand. And then independent, you're just pinky on the pinky. I'm here in the background. I'm watching everything that you do. I'm here if you need me, but you're as far out on the lead as you possibly can. It's always like that. You're trying to get this student to be independent. It's just a cycle all the time. It's just back to the beginning, cycle, in full talk through, prompt, independent, full talk through, prompt. It's just a cycle. You're just trying to get this person to be independent. You know how to drive. You don't need to use any of the controls unless it's an emergency situation or you need to take control for some reason. You don't want to drive for the student. You need to get them to do it themselves. Fully talk through, prompt, independent. So when the person comes in the car and they've had absolutely no experience whatsoever, you need to tell them. So in my case, right, I've got the controls here. You're totally cool. I've got you. Do you understand that I can do that? Yes. Okay. Then when you're going through the briefing of everything, fully talk through, they've never heard of a single sausage about this thing, right? So whatever subject you're teaching them, whether it's a maneuver or whether it's a driving subject, they don't know anything. So you full talk through and you tell them absolutely everything, all the risk. These are the risks. This is what can happen. This is what we need to look for. I'm going to be looking for it with you and telling you about it so you can see it. Does that make sense? Yeah, excellent. And then throughout the lesson, the way that this is going to work is I'm going to fully talk to you about what's happened. And then as we go down into the lesson, I'm going to go to a prompted where I'm just going to ask you questions about it, Q&A. And then in the end, at the end of this lesson, or soon, you're going to be independent. And then I'm going to ask you lots of Q&A about it constantly to check on whether you understand about the risk and the danger. it's very important, I believe, that you use the word risk and danger and you point it out to them. So through the lesson you can say, okay, so as we pull away from here in a minute, for example, we're going to be checking our blind spot, because these are all the reasons why we need to check the blind spot. There could be somebody in your blind spot. You need to talk about all the blind spots, of course. Like this is not supposed to be like a briefing lesson, but you tell them what could be in your blind spot. Could be anything in there: an overtaking vehicle, a car, a bike, right? That's all the risk and danger. We really need to see that, because this area is not covered in your mirrors. But it's full talk through with somebody who's never driven before. You need to tell them that. And then when you've told them that, maybe when you've done 2 or 3 move offs, then you're going to go from the full talk through to the prompted. You're holding their hand. So in a minute, we're going to check our blind spot. What risk could be in the blind spot? Q&A. Ask them, right? At this point of asking them, they either know the answer and they'll parrot it back to you because you told them before, or they'll say, oh, I don't know, I can't remember. If that's the case, straight back to number 1, full talk through. You just tell them straight away, just tell them. And then again, then the next time they do it, you say, okay, what could be in your blind spot? Oh yeah, I know now. It could be a bike, or it could be a pedestrian, or it could be anything on that I can't see in the mirror. So I need to check over my shoulder to see if there's anything there, anything overtaking me. Okay, cool. You got it, right? So that's basically, if they are a brand new student and the examiner's pretending to be a brand new student, you're going to give them the answer, and then through full talk through, prompted and independent, you're going to be literally as you go down, you're going to be asking them Q&A about it, and if they don't know, straight back to fully talk through. Okay, it is different if the examiner's pretending to be a partly trained student. If the partly trained student comes in and they've had lessons with other instructors, right? The examiner's pretending to, oh yeah, I've had some lessons before, we've moved off and stopped, yeah, I'm ready to go on to the next stage, but I've done this subject before. Okay, cool, that sounds good. So what kind of checks would you be doing before you move off? Straight into Q&A, like instantaneous, straight into Q&A. You don't tell them about what's the risk. That's over instruction. And remember how big that is. Over instruction. If I came into your house and I said, and you offered me a cup of tea, and I said, oh yeah, that would be lovely, don't forget to put the kettle on, and you were like, yeah, and then I was like, oh, don't forget to put the tea bag in, you'd be like, yeah, don't forget to put the hot water on the tea bag, yeah, don't forget to put the milk on the tea bag and stir it, yeah, you're going to start, like, your over instruction is the most annoying thing in the world. And also if you start over instructing the examiner when they know the answer, they're gonna give you body language like, yeah, I know, because the examiner's going to be like, back off, man, I know the answer. He'll give you tips like that. He's going to give you tips. Yeah, over instruction is obviously, we don't want to over instruct somebody who's partly trained. So the way that you know if they know the answer is Q&A. So in the risk management section, great, I love it. I'm so glad that you've done this subject before. It sounds like you've done some really good work. So let's just talk about the observations for a minute. So when you're checking your observation and you're looking, especially in your blind spot, what kind of risk and danger are you looking for there? Q&A. And then straight away, the student is either going to say the answer, or they're going to go, oh, do you know what? I've forgotten. And then you go straight back to level 1, full talk through. And then you have to then go through that process of full talk through, prompt, independent. And then when they're actually doing it, then you say, okay, so what's going to be in your blind spot? Oh yeah, of course. So it's just literally back to the beginning, yeah? Full talk through if they don't know the answer. If you suspect that they know the answer because you either told them on a briefing or they're partly trained, Q&A. And if they don't know the answer, straight back to full talk through, then prompted, then independent. All right. Let's move on to the next section. Risk management. Were directions and instructions given to the pupil clear and given in good time? I lost a mark. How flipping annoying is that, right? We got to the T junction very close before I asked him to turn left. That's just embarrassing. I mean, flippin' heck. It's almost embarrassing, but I'm going to share it with you because I want you to benefit. You know, I've been doing my job for an exceptionally long time. This is my 21st year of actually being involved in this business and this industry, you know. Yeah, it is a little bit like you should have just told them earlier, but I was fully in Q&A. Yeah, I love Q&A on check tests and stuff, especially if they're partly trained. I love it when it gets to prompt and independent because you can Q&A. I just love it. Moving on to the, so look, sorry, I'm skimming through that quite quickly. Were directions and instructions to the pupil given in good time? Yeah. So at the end of the road, turn left. At the end of the road, turn right. Yeah. So those are really, really obvious. Yeah. Or instructions. Soon we're coming up to a roundabout. At the roundabout, who do we give way to? Where's the risk going to be coming from if they're partly trained? Oh, the risk is going to come to the right. Yeah. So don't leave it until the last minute. I remember having a student years and years ago, and he really didn't like talking to me. And he was partly trained because I'd got him to a certain point of the roundabouts. And I was like, right, so we're coming up to a roundabout. Who do you need to give way to? That was my Q&A because I wanted to know. I told him that he needed to give way to the right, but I needed to know that he knew that we gave way to the right because we'd done some roundabouts. No answer. Getting a bit closer. Okay, so who do we give way to at this roundabout? Still driving towards the roundabout, no answer. And I'm thinking, I need this answer quickly, otherwise I'm going to have to intervene soon. Who do we give way to at this roundabout? Still nothing. So then I said, we give way to the right. So I decided through the silence of asking him 3 times, for whatever reason that was, I decided to take him back to full talk through straight away. I took control of the situation immediately and I gave him the answer. I remember that part of it. I don't know whether I intervened. I cannot remember, but I certainly remember that part of it. I gave him the answer immediately. Moving on, was the trainer aware of the surroundings and the pupil's actions? Yeah. You may have been taught to obviously look at the student's head, eyes, hands, feet, and you rotate, yeah? And obviously, of course, you're looking out the window as much as possible, right? So all of the danger involved, if you've done a hazard perception test, obviously, yeah, or you've been on the road, yeah, knowing about those surroundings and just being aware of all of that and seeing what the student is doing. You know, it's quite common for a student to be like, so if you say, okay, take the next road on the left, and they're like this, and you know they're going to signal right because their hand position is wrong, yeah? Which way do we signal to the left? Oh, yeah, it's downwards, isn't it? Or, I don't know, I've forgotten. Straight back to full talk through. It's left, you press down on the left. So you need to be aware of what's inside the car and what's outside the car. Otherwise, and then you ask them a Q&A, if they're partly trained, you ask them a Q&A, if they don't know the answer, straight back to full talk through. I got 4 marks on that. So next one, was there any verbal or physical intervention by the trainer timely and appropriate? Okay, I lost a mark for this. I cannot remember what that was, but perhaps if something was coming up and it was they needed to have some help with it, yeah, almost like that story I told you about, like the kid with who didn't know to give way to the right, or for whatever reason he wasn't answering me. Maybe something like that it could be. All right, so maybe I didn't ask early enough. Yeah, I lost 1 point of that. Maybe they were driving up to the roundabout too quickly and I needed to slow them down. Yeah, so whatever it was, my examiner thought that I was a little bit late with that. I wish I could tell you what it was, right? But if you do need to take control of it, then you need to take control of it in good time, all right? Because this student needs to feel, yeah, even though they may not even understand what's going on, they need to feel like you've got this. Yeah. Whenever I take control of the dual controls, I always say to them, I got this. Don't worry, I got this. It's the immediate thing. We may be in a hell of a lot of danger when I say that, right? We may be coming up to a roundabout maybe, and I can see that the student hasn't seen that they need to give way to the right, because you can just tell their approach speed, they're not looking in the right place. And then as we come up to it, I have to break them. And I always say, I got this, don't worry, I got this. I'm just going to give you a little hand with this, just going to give you a hand. Because you need to tell them that you're taking control. And it's not like you don't punish them for it, ever. These people we need to hold in high respect, you know. These people are decent people and they're just trying to learn. And they're putting themselves out there vulnerably, emotionally vulnerable position, right? So we need to hold high respect for somebody who's trying their best. And we just need to say, oh, do you know what? I've got control. I've got control. I got you. Was sufficient feedback given to help the pupil understand any potential safety critical incidents? I got full marks for this. So this would be basically if something did happen, which is very similar to the story that I was just saying. If exactly the same story was happening, if I took control of everything, right, and I made the situation safe, it's highly likely that I would pull them up on the left soon, and then we'd have a discussion about the risk and the danger of that situation. All right, so let's literally just take that story that I just said. Let's say that the student's coming up to the roundabout and they haven't seen that they need to give way to the right, and you can just tell we're just approaching that roundabout at 2,000 miles an hour, right? And they haven't even seen that there's a roundabout coming up, right? If you take control in the most beautiful, respectful, helpful way, I'm just going to take control of this, right? They don't know what's happened. A lot of them will go, oh, because you're slowing the car down and they just didn't expect it. It's really shocking for them. When you use the dual controls, they don't know what's going on. It's like being on a fairground ride and it's jerking them about. They just didn't expect. They think something's wrong with the car. They just don't understand what's going on. So you need to say, I've taken control. I've got this. Don't worry. I'm just looking after you for a minute, or I'm just helping you steer away from the curb because we're just getting a little bit close. I'm just going to help you. But after that, we need to explain. We can't just let that situation go. We either need to explain it whilst we're moving, possibly pull up on the left and have a chat about it so they can take it in, because they'll be so confused about the car slowing down after you've used the controls or whatever. They really need to process what's just happened. Even if you know in your heart that it wasn't dangerous, but you just needed to take control, as in really, they don't really know. So you need to pull them up on the left and go, let's just talk about that situation that just happened. And if they're partly trained, you could say, why do you think that I took the controls there? Yeah, if they're partly trained, right? And then they can either say, I'm not really sure. Straight back to one. Straight back to full talk through. Immediately. Don't patronize them by going in with another question necessarily. If they don't know it, just tell them the answer, okay? Because if you keep on Q&Aing and somebody about something that they have just said to you, I don't know, it makes you absolutely crush somebody's soul. If you keep on asking them to find the answer, you just crush their soul. So if they have directly said to you, or the examiner says, I don't know, especially the examiner, if he says, I don't know, then he's not mucking about. He's like, I don't know. You need to tell me the answer. Yeah. So you've pulled that student up. Why do you think I slowed you down? It's because I didn't see the roundabout at all. I've got to be honest. I just didn't see the roundabout. I'm so sorry about that. I was just in my head about the thing that happened before, and I just didn't see the roundabout. So clearly you slowed me down because I needed to give way to the right. All right, guys. So in a nutshell, I'm going to finish up there. I hope that this information's been useful. In a nutshell, if they are a brand new student, you give them the risk, you tell them the risk, you just include it in your briefing and you make sure that they understand. Throughout the lesson, you're going to reduce the amount that you talk about the risk, as in giving them the answer. So you can say to them, okay, so what we're going to be doing about the risk management of this is I'm going to let you know about all the risks that's involved in this. And throughout the lesson, I'm going to start to see whether you've understood the risk in this situation. And I'm going to ask you Q&A about it to see if you understand. And if you do, great, give me the answer, wonderful. And if you don't, that's cool. I can just give you the answer again because I'm your teacher and we're a team. I always say that to my students. Every single person I've ever met always In my little speech when they first get in the car, I always say to them, we're a team, okay? So feel free to talk to me. I'm here and I'm going to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to get you independent. And I always say to them, I'm never going to drive for you unless I need to, ever. I'm not going to be touching the controls of the car. I know how to drive. You don't. So I'm going to be teaching you about how to use these controls. And then if you need my help, I'm going to help you. All right? But with the risk, you need to say, I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you everything. But through the lesson, as you become more independent, and I'm just like literally pinky touching your finger, just hold it like just in the background, just like, you doing all right? And your lead is really long. I'm just going to ask you questions to see whether you understand risk and whether you've got it, because it's really, really important. We need to keep the roads of wherever you are in the world safe, and knowing about risk and danger is very important, right? You don't want to like present it in a really, really, really scary way, because they're frightened enough as it is. But we definitely need to talk about risk and danger, and we need to really be careful. So if they're a brand new student, you're going to give them the answer. And then when you go to prompted, you Q&A. And then at any point, whether they're on prompted or whether they're on the independent stage, if you say to them, what could be, why are you checking your blind spot there? What risk and danger are you looking for? If they don't know the answer, you go straight back to full talk through. If you think that they know the answer because they're partly trained, or you're within this kind of like, if they walk into the car and they're partly trained, remember the T situation. You don't want to be over instructing. Ask them a question, and if they know the answer, congratulate them. Well done, that's brilliant. You've obviously learned really well. You know, you've done some really good work with your other instructor. That's great. You've really picked up on that well. Hold high respect for these people. Learning a new thing, you know. When was the last time that you learned something new? You don't know anything about it. And this is dangerous. This situation is like seriously dangerous, right? We need the new generation of people to be on the road to be as safe as possible. I mean, the examiners are going to insist on it anyway. It's very, very hard to pass this test. Really hard. You know, it's not like it used to be back in the olden days where, you know, people used to be like dashing about, and it used to be really hard to control certain students. It's not really like that anymore. People have got a high level of respect for it, much higher than they used to, I think, throughout the years that I've been an instructor. Anyway, this is a long video. I really hope that helps, PDI, trainee instructor. If it does, and you feel that I can give you any more advice, then please let me know in the comments. Please accept that I haven't done my part 3 for many years. Okay, so if my information, you know, physically is outdated, please write in the comments. All right, I'm giving you my opinion, my personal experience, and I'm only doing it to help you, right? I have no other feelings or wants or anything like that. I just want to help you. That's it. I am considering helping, like with phone calls and people coming to see me in physical for part 3 stuff. But again, I'm not audit trained, and I will have a price of my normal pricing system that I would have on an hourly rate for my students at the time of this video, £45 an hour. If you want my help, Zoom calls or whatever, fine. But please remember that I am not audit trained, okay? I'm not audit trained. I am just a grade A driving instructor with a hell of a lot of experience, and I'm very passionate about my job, and I do follow it very, very strictly to how I learnt it. I've never wavered from the way I've learnt it, and that's why I feel like I can offer this information to you. I'm going to shut up now. All right, guys, I really hope this has helped, and good luck with part 3.